Without further ado, we have Matt here from the Avalabs team. We have Artemis and we have Dan from the Acumen team. And really excited to bring together this panel for you today as we learn about all the great things about microfinancing in emerging economies. So without further ado, Artemis, I'll pass it over to you if you want to give a quick intro. And then Matt, if you want to get things kicked off, we'll go from there. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, awesome. And I'd just like to start off by saying thank you guys for having me and having Acumen on the podcast. And super excited to share our vision and what we aim to accomplish with Acumen. But to sort of start off, we'd like to give a brief intro on Acumen and what it is we're doing. And essentially, Acumen is aiming to solve two of the big issues in DeFi and traditional finance. Currently, throughout much of the DeFi ecosystem, specifically after a lot of the recent events, a lot of yields have dropped. You can't earn high yields on your stable coins anymore. And Acumen aims to sort of solve this problem by offering another avenue for yield generation that is one, attractive and uncorrelated to the crypto market, but is backed by the income stream of the loans that we're lending out to small and medium sized enterprises. On the flip side, we're also aiming to solve one of the pressing issues of financial inclusion, which is the lack of availability for capital to small and medium-sized enterprises. So currently, in a lot of emerging markets, small and medium-sized enterprises either one, don't have access to formal financing, and in order to turn to financing, they have to use the informal sector, which means many times they have to use a credit card for financing or going to loan sharks. And neither of these scenarios is good. And what this means is that these SMEs are having to pay anywhere from 30 to 300% for loans. So Acumen aims to create this mutually beneficial ecosystem where not only do the DeFi users benefit from attractive and uncorrelated yields, but the small and medium-sized enterprises also benefit from cheaper access to capital.
Yeah, and I guess I'll give a short introduction about myself next. So, my name is Matt Schmank. I'm a part of the business development team here at Apple Labs. I've been a part of the BD team for about a year now, and my specific focus started on DeFi, but has definitely expanded elsewhere into kind of multiple verticals, as what we call them. So I help quite a bit out with institutional and capital markets, data, infrastructure, and tooling now. But Avalabs, for those of you that don't know, is the servicing firm behind the Avalanche network or the Avalanche blockchain. Avalanche is essentially a network of interconnected blockchain called subnets that are VM agnostic. And Avalanche was originally founded by Emin Gün Sirer and some of his students while he was a professor at Cornell. So it was definitely founded with a research first sort of environment, and that starts with our kind of revolutionary consensus mechanism called Avalanche consensus, which uses subsampling to achieve sub-second finality, which for financial transactions is super important. So we truly believe in kind of scaling blockchains horizontally via subnets, like I said. And our vision is to really digitize all of the world's assets over time. So that gives a short introduction about myself as well as Avalabs and Avalanche.
Fantastic. Dan, if you want to give us a quick intro about yourself, then we'll get into the questions.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everyone. So I'm Dan, and I'm essentially leading all of Acumen's marketing efforts. So I've been with the team around 3, 4 months now, and sort of um, helped them sort of grow their social media, and currently helping them expanding out across various EVM chains. And I've previously worked in a bunch of ecosystems, Cosmos, Solana. And so, yeah, I worked a bit in the ETH ecosystem in my early days. And yeah, it's just been a great journey with Acumen. And I look forward to sort of rolling out this next quarter with everyone and helping the protocol grow as a whole.
Fantastic. Well, cool, guys. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this space. We'll get right into the questions. But before we do, just remember there will be a Q&A section at the end of this space. So make sure you stick around. And if you have a question at the end of the space, we'll go ahead and ask you and call you up on stage, and you can ask your question. Without further ado, I'd love to pass it over to Matt to get started with the questions.
Yep, sorry, I was muted. Didn't even realize. But yeah, so the first question is an easy layup here. So I guess what is Acumen? How does it work? I guess where was like the platform founded with what vision in mind?
Yeah, so I kind of already touched this in the introduction, but I guess we can dive into more of the details. So, like I said, Acumen aims to do, the two things, which is one, provide stable and attractive yields that are uncorrelated to the crypto market, and lower the cost of capital for small and medium-sized enterprises. So, the way we actually go about this is one. When people deposit stable coins into the protocol, they can choose between two different type of pools. We have a short-term pool and we have a microfinance pool. The short-term pool are for users that don't want to bother with longer lockups, but of course have lower APYs. So we have pools right now of around 30 to 60 days that are paying 2.1% to 2.4%. Then we have the microfinance pools, which are actually funds that are converted into fiat and to lent out to these small and medium-sized enterprises. These pools lockup range from 180 days to 365, with the 180-day pools paying 4.1% out and the 365-day pools paying 8.19% out. So now, once these funds are actually lent out to these businesses, we deploy capital into kind of three different tranches. We work with smaller businesses that need, financing for, let's say, they are a bakery and they need to buy more equipment. We work for businesses that are larger and need more capital, and they put up their real estate as collateral. And we make sure that all the loans are collateralized. So compared to other, I guess, real world like generation protocols, Acumen ensures that all the loans we give out have some form of collateralization.
Awesome. And I know you touched upon the yield a little bit, but is that generally completely a fixed yield? So if I'm promised, I don't know, 7% over an 8 month span, is that 100% what I'm getting? It's not a variable yield.
Yeah, so it's completely stable, the yields, and sort of the way we ensure this is with a couple of safeguards that are built into the protocol. So, for example, if we're paying out 7% to our depositors, the actual loans we're giving are yielding. They have a spread, so they're yielding maybe 10%. So that 3% spread allows us to have sort of some wiggle room with the loans. Whereas if some of them go bad, the interest on the rest of them can cover the loans at a default. Secondly, the spread is also used, or like any excess revenue is also used as token rewards for the governance token holders. So people that hold the Acumen token once it launches on Avalanche will be able to stake it and earn USDC rewards based on the protocol excess revenues. So this is very different from a lot of other protocols where their governance tokens are based purely, on hype or network usage. Acumen actually has a tangible income stream that it can pay out to its governance token holders.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's what uh, in like the past 6 months, real yield and sustainable yield has been such a focus within DeFi and kind of various protocols on chain. And so, why do you guys believe this yield will continue to be stable and hopefully not have many defaults?
Yeah, so I think this comes down to how we've actually structured the protocol, whereas we actually tap into the pre-existing financial partners in the jurisdictions that we work in. So, for example, our first test case that we launched in the Solana protocol was for $250,000, and those loans were successfully deployed in El Salvador with close to 0% default rate. So, in El Salvador, we're actually working with one of the top 10 largest banks that's actually helping us originate the loans, do the collections process, and we're essentially able to piggyback off their deal flow and all their pre-existing infrastructure to ensure that the loans, one, aren't as risky, and if they do default, we can actually repossess the collateral and liquidate it to cover the loan, the principal and the interest.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I was wondering actually, and that it's funny you mentioned that. I remember way back when I first met you guys were actually deployed on Solana and interested in moving over to Avalanche. I guess I have two questions now. One being, do you guys have any plans to expand into other regions throughout the world? I know kind of the target market right now is El Salvador, but have you looked into expanding into other countries within South America or Latin America or even all around the world?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question, And obviously, the team being from El Salvador, we felt that El Salvador was the best starting location, especially with their friendly outlook on crypto and Bitcoin. But in the future, we have already started conversations with other jurisdictions to sort of replicate this model. And that's one of the good things about Acumen is that the way it's built it allows it to be easily franchised into other jurisdictions. So in the near term, we're looking to expand to more broadly the Central America region, but we also have discussions that are ongoing to expand to Africa as well.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and I guess on the topic of originally starting on Solana, why Avalanche now? Why are you guys kind of moving your operations to Avalanche? Why kind of launch the full product suite on Avalanche? What changed your mind?
Yeah, so Solana had experienced a lot of issues with the network outages, and obviously, when building a protocol, it's really important to have a product that's constantly available. And with a blockchain that's constantly, experiencing outages, it made it really hard to scale and build a community. So we chose Avalanche because obviously it's scalable, it has low latency, and it microfinance, one of the most important things are low cost for transaction, and speed as well. And that's something that Avalanche was able to bring to the table, because if the blockchain we're building on had these insane fees, it sort of makes it not economically viable to pay $15 for a $100 transaction. So low transaction costs and speed was one of the main reasons we chose Avalanche. And also, you haven't experienced any network outages as well, so that's a plus.
Don't jinx us now. Can't be saying that. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I guess congrats on the soft launch. And what all has been accomplished already? What are the major leaps or hurdles that you guys had during the development progress? What's kind of the next, I don't know, 6 month or year long plan?
So, in terms of the, I guess like a major leap in development we had was previously touched on, but the pilot launch was very successful, where it was basically $250,000 worth of loans to SMEs in El Salvador deployed, and that was quite big because it also proved that these yields that we're, I guess, putting out there is proven that they are sustainable and that we can provide these, which was good for the community to see. We've also created a video sort of to show the impact of this, and that will be posted shortly in our YouTube channel. So everyone should very much stay tuned for that, because that's great just to show the impact that we've had to a couple of the SMEs that we've given loans to. We've also been, I think Javier touched on this previously, but we have been authorized by the Central Bank of El Salvador. And we have put a lot of work into becoming regulatory compliant, and this is going to continue to just grow and help us expand across jurisdictions as well.
Wow. So I guess could you expand on the work that you've done with the Central Bank of El Salvador? How has that gone and whatnot?
Yeah. So I think the central bank partnership was super important just because of how the protocol is structured. So basically became an authorized lender in the eyes of the central bank in El Salvador. And what this really means in basic terms is that the Acumen DAO can take on collateral and have the legal right to repossess it. So obviously in the lending business, that's super important, because if we didn't have the right and the loans defaulted, we'd have no way to pay back the principal of our users. But regulatory compliance is something that the team has worked really hard on. And obviously, with how regulations are playing out in the space, I think it's something is going to become increasingly more important. That I think maybe some protocols haven't taken that strong of a stance on making sure they are compliant. But we are fully regulatory compliant in El Salvador and have worked hand in hand with the government there uh, to pass some of the DeFi and DAO laws to sort of help create this regulatory friendly environment in El Salvador.
Yeah, I guess could you go through the user flow or the flow of funds about if I'm a liquidity provider or someone depositing into the protocol, what might I be greeted with when I first visit the website? Where the protocol is kind of accepted and like regionally, like I'm actually a U.S. citizen, and I see that I don't have access to the protocol. So, what regions is the protocol supported in, and whatnot along those lines?
Yeah. So when you access the website, if you're accessing it from I think the U.S. and some of the OFAC countries, you're going to be blocked from actually using the website. But if you are residing in a jurisdiction that's not prohibited, then you'll be able to see the website and then launch the app. And once you launch the app, you'll see two different type of pools that I mentioned before: the microfinance pools and the short-term pools. And these are broken up by what stable coin can be deposited into, as well as the lockup period for each one. And once you click on the pool, you have the ability to deposit as well as to read the description of what your funds are actually doing when you deposit into these pools.
Yeah, and once the user's funds are deposited in the pools, how do you guys off-ramp the funds? Like, how does the fiat currency go to the enterprises that you guys are funding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once the pools are open, there's a deposit period. So this is a period where users can move in freely and out of the pools prior to the lockup period starting. After the lockup period starts, the funds are then off ramp through our corporate partner Bitfinex, which are then sent to El Salvador and are starting to deploy into the loans that we have originated with the bank that we work with.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so I know you touched upon tokenomics a bit and kind of where excess revenues go. Could you kind of explain that a little bit more in detail?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this prior, but there is a spread between what the loans pay out to the DeFi users and what the actual SMEs are paying. So in the example that you use, if you're earning 7%, the loan's going to be earning around 10%. So after the loans are all paid back and we close out the lockup period, all these excess revenues are essentially put into a treasury. And once the governance token is launched and the staking mechanism is live, users will essentially be able to stake their tokens, and the excess revenue will be distributed proportionally to how many governance tokens you have. So, for example, if there's a million governance tokens circulating, and there's an excess revenue of a million, each token for each governance token that you own, you would receive $1. So if you stake 10,000 governance tokens, you receive $10,000 of the excess revenue.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I guess another question I had was in regards to what makes Acumen different than other microfinancing solutions in something like Web 2?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple ways to tackle this question. One is the way that the loans in the Acumen ecosystem are actually backed, and that being that it's collateralized by real world tangible assets. The other thing is that DeFi allows these type of products to become more accessible to a lot of people, whereas some microfinance funds, if you wanted to invest into them, there's sort of like investment caps. Acumen doesn't have any of that. There's no minimum investment, and it's really more broadly accessible. But other than that, I would say that the way the loans are actually backed is the biggest difference.
Yeah, and being a US citizen, do you guys plan on opening up to other countries, or what would that process look like if you were to?
So as of right now, I don't think we are going to expand to the U.S. in the near future, but possibly once the regulatory compliance stuff in the U.S. becomes more clear, we could start looking into that. But as far as expanding into other countries, from a user perspective, there is no other difference, just that there's going to be more pools to stake into. So I think one of the cool things about Acumen is that as we start expanding the protocol into different jurisdictions, you have sort of this geographical diversification that you can do. So whereas right now you can only invest in loans that are in El Salvador, you could start to diversify your portfolio based on geographics. So you could take a percentage and put it in SME loans in El Salvador, a percentage that is in South America, and a percentage that is in Africa.
Great, great. Yeah, and I guess what are you most excited about for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, I would say it's we're super excited to become part of the Avalanche ecosystem and to also start expanding, the protocol to other jurisdictions. We've already started identifying other, key jurisdictions that we want to target, and we're hopeful to be in um, 2 or 3 countries by the end of the year.
Just to add on to the back of that, also looking forward to expanding throughout the ecosystem through a bunch of protocol partnerships that we currently have lined up, and hopefully with the team at Avalanche connect us with some key people that we'd like to partner with and help us just grow as a whole.
Yeah, it's so exciting to have you guys here. So definitely looking forward to helping with those introductions and strategy and whatnot. So um, yeah, I guess before we turn it over to questions from the audience, Acumen team, do you have any questions for me or anything you'd like to add in?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm happy to hear what the community has to say.
Awesome. Well, cool, guys. We're going to turn it over to the community here. So if you want to go ahead and click on your bottom left, you should see a little microphone button that will request you to come up on stage, and then you can go ahead and ask your question. All right. So while we're waiting for other people to come up on stage and ask their question, I actually did have a question on my end. What's been the most rewarding part about building Acumen?
Yeah, I think one of the most rewarding things, which you guys will see in the video that we will post, is actually being able to see the impact that these loans have on people. So obviously, everybody likes to earn attractive, interest rates, but it's really nice when you're able to do that and also make an impact in someone's life. So the video we'll post actually will show 3 of the people we lent to in the 250,000 test case that we did on Solana, and they were super happy to have this opportunity, and it's super cool to see that.
That's awesome. Yeah, changing people's lives. It really kind of hits home, doesn't it? Let's see. We have David here. David wants to come up and ask a question. Once you get on stage, go ahead and unmute your mic, David, and then go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead, David. You're on the stage.
Oh, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you so much for all this information. I think it's super great. I'm from Colombia actually. I'm really into the financial inclusion, right? So here's a really big gap, and I'm really resonate with Acumen is doing. I have 2 questions. One is like in El Salvador, what is the average ticket that you are like making this loan for these companies? And the second one is I think it's super interesting that you are like going to Latin America. It totally makes sense in terms of market, right? Because if there is an if there's a need for financial inclusion in terms of credit is Latin America. It's not like it makes sense that you don't want to be on the United States because I don't know there's a lot of banking. There's a lot of banking, and a lot of people just receive credit. But in Colombia, at least, it's very difficult. And like for example, in Colombia, there is around 68,000 uh, like micro like organization that needs this liquidity, right? But like in El Salvador, it's easy because you have dollars, right? So it's like kind of like normal, like having these loans. But if you're coming to Latin America, how are you going to solve this problem of like the exchange of money? Like nobody's going to take a loan in dollars in Colombia, for example, and the same goes to like Venezuela, Argentina, Ecuador is dollarized, but like Peru, so do you have in mind like how are going to solve this problem? Like we like in Latin America, we have a lot of devalued currency that are not going to take this loan on dollars. So maybe that is my two questions. Like, what is the average ticket that you're loan like making the loans, and the second one is how are you approaching the like this devalued currency that are in Latin America, because I think in you're like doing these loans in dollars, right? And I have a third question, but I just forgot.
No worries, but if you remember the question, feel free to ask it. But I think first off, great questions. So for the ticket size, it really depends on how big the SME is. So, for example, smaller like mom and pop shops, the average ticket size is around $4,000, whereas larger, small and medium sized enterprises that are using maybe their real estate as collateral, the ticket size can range from like $80 to $100,000. And then for the currency question, that's a great question as well. And so there's kind of two ways we're kind of tackling this. One is that there are certain countries, in Latin America that we can do dollar-based loans in. So we're probably going to target those first. And then secondly, in countries that don't want to take dollar-based loans, we're going to essentially put up a hedge in place to sort of uh, combat against the devaluation of the currency that the country's in. So if a hedge in place, it sort of covers us, if the currency, devalues too much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I just remembered the other question. So, like, maybe you're going to start by, like, I don't know, Panama and Ecuador. Maybe could be a good upstart. And the other question that I have is, if I understand correctly, you are like making some support with the local banks in El Salvador in order to have this kind of credit score, like like in order to do these loans to the companies, right? Um, but like in my head, like the banks doesn't have a really good score. Like if you are talking to, like if you are thinking of financial inclusion, I think bank is not that well, and also like doing this credit score, right? So maybe do you have in plans to try to have like a credit score in like in-house kind of way? Um, because I think you put in this really good, really important decision, like to find who is credit worthy or not, is like super essential. Otherwise, I think the company like it will be a lot of defaults, right? So I approach a lot of companies that are like doing some financial inclusion for companies here in Colombia, and everyone has like plus a 90 something percent of good payments, right? So actually, like people that really need the money actually are more good payers than like a big company. So this is like super nice. But I think I don't know if it's in your plans, like having this kind of credit score, like with you guys rather than a bank, because I think I don't know, just like thinking aloud, I think it's not going to be like a super sustainable in time, because this is a really big issue.
Yeah, no, great question. So basically, the way it works is yes, we do work with a bank, but we don't, since in Spanish the way what we're actually called is institución financiera no bancaria. So it's financial institution, but not a banking institution, which essentially means that we do not have to are legally set to the same standards as a bank. So yes, while banks have much more strict, financing criteria that you have to meet, we don't. So the way it works with the bank is that the clients that, for whatever reason, they maybe don't have the correct documents, or it's small reasons that get denied from the bank, we pick up those clients because they're still good clients. They just don't have all the strict criteria needed to meet financing requirements through a bank. So that's kind of the sector we're focusing in on. And I think in the future it depends really what institutions we're working with. So as far as the banks, it's not really we're not really looking at the credit requirement, but we're looking at other things, sort of like as what kind of collateral they're putting up, and sort of their how they've performed in the loans prior. But we are looking to work with other microfinance institutions, like the one I mentioned that we have in Africa, and those would be smaller loans to that is more directly microfinance.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I would love to have a conversation with you in Spanish because it's super difficult for me in English. But yeah, I have a lot of questions and I would love to keep continue looking about Acumen and what you guys are doing because it's super nice. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Yeah, of course. Join the Telegram, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Just to add on to that, David, we also do have the Spanish channels in the Discord. So if you do join in and drop it in there, if that's easy for you to communicate, come and do that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your question, David. DK, you're up next. Go for it.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm not sure if I was if you can hear me or if I was just for some reason activated as a speaker. But I also had a question, and it's actually more to the Avalanche team. So because crypto in general obviously is getting a lot of negative headlines. It has been getting a lot of negative headlines basically since the start, and here's kind of a project that I've supported from the start in a way, and I always love that they're doing something that is genuinely good using DeFi. So I think it's a perfect use case. And if you don't think it's good, then you're going to wait for that video that they've already posted at some point where, the people talk about how much these loans are changing their lives. And obviously microfinance is well known as a great cause. So, at the same time, DeFi yields have really taken a hit because, lending platforms had so many problems and they're yielding like 2% on USD, while money market funds in the US are like 4% or 3.5%. So there's no incentive to actually use them anymore. So I really think it's about time that crypto is grabbing some more positive headlines and provides users with yield that is not only, stable, but also based in the real world or generated in the real world. So I was wondering, I'm hoping the Avalanche team realizes that this is a real great cause that they could help. And I was just wondering, beyond this kind of a spaces and your investment, obviously, like, are there plans for you to support Acumen to really become larger? And more seen, frankly, in the near future as well, because the tough time for crypto projects is now, attracting TVL, which was really easy like 9 months ago. But right now you have a project that if this project came out sort of, as a bigger one, I think it would do the entire space a lot of good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we are super excited for the Acumen team to launch here. And like you said, at least my own personal mandate being a part of the DeFi and institutional and capital markets team is yield that is sustainable, generated through either real world assets or use cases that will continue to thrive during bear, bull, crab market, whatever underlying conditions are. And so yeah, I think every project that wants to build here, regardless if we do have a financial investment or not, um, we try and help to the best of our ability. The only thing we ask is they're non-nefarious actors in this space, like you kind of touched upon. And so any team that wants to build here and is really excited about the Avalanche technology and really wants to help the community and kind of all of humanity, we always want to help and try and better their platform and get them the introductions they need, liquidity they need, anything, and really any way that we can help them. So that I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. I hope there's more kind of activities jointly together with Avalanche coming up. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what, of course, we would like to continue to market, continue to get them kind of the platform that they deserve to be successful.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, DK, for your questions. Let's go to Gleb over here. Gleb, if you'd like to ask your question, once you come up on stage, go ahead and do so.
Hi, is it okay if I speak?
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
So I had a question for the Acumen team. From what I can understand, you're going to be doing a lot of onboarding, offboarding crypto to sort of, uh, be able to make these loans. What sort of processes are you using, and how are you planning to onboard, offboard? Yeah, that's pretty much my question.
Yeah, no, great question. So we're working with currently right now with Bitfinex. So Bitfinex is our on and off ramp, and obviously in the future we're going to be onboarding different on and off ramps because it's important to sort of not have like a single point of failure. But as of right now, we're going to be using Bitfinex to on and off ramp the USDC to fiat and vice versa.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Up next, we got Suhail. Suhail, go ahead and ask your question when you come up on stage. Suhail, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank, thank you very much, Avalanche. This is Sohail Awan from UNDP Afghanistan. I understand a different context is being discussed, but just wanted to a bit not. I don't have a question. I'll ask question at the end, but just to give you a financial inclusion landscape here in Afghanistan, where the country. I mean, I hope many here in the space know that the country is under the protracted war and conflict like situation since last 42 years. Financial inclusion landscape over here is that 2017 figures are that only 15% population has access to bank accounts, and only less than 7% women have access to bank accounts. uh, Microfinance sector in the country was doing pretty well, but then COVID and then this regime change when it happened in Afghanistan after the evacuation of the U.S. forces in 2021, August 2021, everything collapsed, and now there is a strict ban that you need to bring the Islamic banking system, only then you can operate. So this is the first time we here piloted a small pilot with a first microfinance bank. Uh, Tried to subsidize the loans. We are also trying to explore other ways how we can uh, ensure the inclusion, financial inclusion, uh, working with couple of other the international financial institutions and trying to come up with that. And I wonder, though this is about emerging markets and Afghanistan is definitely not the emerging economy, but it's just a kind of a flip side, and it's a from other part of the world, that how the landscape is and how the situation works here. My question is regarding Acumen and these kind of the blockchain initiatives. I mean, how countries like Afghanistan, what kind of a possibilities are that how a solution innovation can be worked out to reach out that number of people. Any ideas, any thoughts on this? Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, great question. And just before I jump to it, I want to touch on the last question to just mention that the fiat is actually not held in Bitfinex; it'd be held in custody in the bank. But let me get now to your question. So I think there's definitely potential for a product like Acumen in Afghanistan. Obviously, I think one of the important things in microfinance is just knowledge, like industry knowledge of the jurisdiction you're working in. So as of right now, myself and the team aren't too familiar with the market in Afghanistan, but that's definitely something as we grow and we begin to, onboard new companies and countries that will definitely look to expand into that region. But we would just need the correct local partners to be able to do it in a way that's safe and scalable, so that our depositors don't lose their funds.
As long as the industry knowledge is concerned, we can definitely help. Myself, I am in the sector since last couple of over 2 decades. I was part of I managed country program for global communities, which was mainly microfinance. I was also member of the board of Afghanistan Microfinance Association back in 2007 and 9. We did country strategy for this, and now I am basically inclusive finance, access to finance. In my role is access to finance expert here with UNDP in Afghanistan. And before that, just for our knowledge, I am not boasting myself, but I was among the founding team members of the Howard, which is one of the largest interest-free loans program in Pakistan, and I'm also happen to be a founding chief technical advisor of Yemen Microfinance Network. So as long as industry knowledge is concerned, local partners is concerned, that can be definitely looked into, and we will be happy to explore what Acumen does, and we can reach out. Maybe if you can share the your inbox me details, and maybe we can have a further discussion on it. Thank you.
Yeah, we would love to just join the Telegram and send me a DM, and I'll send over my email, and we can chat.
Awesome. Well, there's been some great questions and some great discussion here, Acumen team. I hope a few of these folks that have come up on board have find themselves in your community and can kind of really plug into what you guys have going on. But that it looks like that's it on questions. Any final thoughts from the Acumen team?
Well, thank you guys for having us on the Twitter space, and we're super excited to build on Avalanche and to make sort of attractive yield available to all of the DeFi users on Avalanche.
Yeah, thank you
And
guys
just
for building.
yeah, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I was just gonna say thank you guys for building here. It means a lot, and we always like to welcome our builders and really support them in any way that we can.
I was just going to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and also thank you to you, Matt, and everyone at the Avalanche side, and for helping us put everything together. You've been great helping us throughout development and the rollout completely, and we look forward to working with you as we continue to progress through the ecosystem.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, that concludes this Avalanche Spaces with Acumen. Again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm sure we'll see you next week on the next Avalanche Spaces. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.